Gold delivered on the August contract so far is about 30% of the registered category, and that's the highest delivery in 4.5 years. Now, the registered category, September contract, we saw 3,830 silver contracts stand for delivery at 5,000 ounces apiece. That's 19,150,000 ounces of silver that were delivered just a couple of days ago. We are seeing structural deficits in silver again, which will be the fourth year in a row, and yet the price is being capped as that capping is incentivizing big players to draw down to the point of 19 million ounces in one day. Now, it's not all one player.
Recently, gold deliveries on the August contract have reached about 30% of the registered category, marking the highest delivery in 4.5 years. For the September contract, 3,830 silver contracts, each representing 5,000 ounces, were delivered, totaling 19.15 million ounces of silver delivered just days ago. This continues a pattern of structural deficits in silver, now occurring for the fourth consecutive year. Despite these supply constraints, silver prices are being capped, which is encouraging major players to draw down large quantities, such as the 19 million ounces delivered in a single day. Andy Schectman, CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, highlights gold is being steadily drained from COMEX, and the LBMA reports its lowest silver reserves in history. The flawed pricing system is prompting more players to stand for delivery, draining exchanges further. Meanwhile, 59 countries have applied to join BRICS, with Turkey becoming the first NATO member to request membership, a significant geopolitical shift. Turkey, a top gold buyer this year, was rejected by the EU and is now aligning with BRICS, which is exploring a new settlement currency, potentially backed 40% by gold held within member countries' borders. Turkey, the largest gold buyer this year, has formally requested to join BRICS despite being a NATO member, highlighting a shift as countries choose sides in global alliances. Figures like Jim Willie suggest that even nations like Japan and Australia may have interests in BRICS, signaling a broader realignment. Turkey's actions, including its massive gold accumulation and recent tensions, indicate it may not be as aligned with the West as previously thought. The LBMA, London Bullion Market Association, and COMEX, Commodity Exchange Incorporated, are being viewed as Ponzi schemes. Recent news on media shows the LBMA has reported record-low silver reserves, while the Shanghai Metals Exchange has surpassed COMEX in trading volume by 200%. Despite being ignored by mainstream finance, smart investors are following major players by selling treasuries in dollars and accumulating risk-free commodities. Let's dive into the video for more insights. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates.
Gold or gold being drained off of COMEX on the evening news or on Fox or CNBC or whatever, but enough to where it just glides on by, and month after month after month after month, we now see statements from the LBMA saying that they have the lowest amount of silver that they've had since they started keeping records in a 140-year-old exchange. Where's it all going? It's the stupidity of the way we price things, which is then incentivizing people to activate that frequently never or that rarely used clause of standing for delivery that is now becoming a release valve, if you will, and just plundering and draining the exchanges at our expense. Yeah, well, we know from the meeting in Novograd a few weeks ago that 59 countries have formally applied, and we don't know which ones they are. We have some ideas. But one thing that did just get publicized on Monday, Bloomberg said that Turkey has formally asked to join BRICS and would be the first NATO member to request membership in the BRICS bloc. Think about that for a moment. And this is a very, very big deal. In fact, I was talking with someone who is a former high-ranking military advisor who I've talked with at length before. And I asked him, do you think Turkey stays in NATO? And he said, no, I don't think so. And now this is supposition, but they asked to join the European Union and they were rejected. And so I think they have doubled down. They're the largest purchaser of gold this year. And in our previous interviews, we've talked about the role of gold in the BRICS, which is the only other tier one asset in the world, and the possibility, at least agreed in principle, of the new unit settlement currency, which will be 40% gold backed, held within the borders of the countries that possess the gold to make the new unit token. And so you see Turkey being the largest producer or the largest accumulator of gold this year, formally requesting admittance into BRICS as a NATO member, sides are being drawn, sides are being chosen. And, you got guys like Jim Willie who admittingly, he will say things that I've never heard before. And sometimes they sound outlandish and very often they come true. So I'm not disparaging his sources, but a lot of the sources that he gets, I don't know where he gets some of the info he gets, but some of it's pretty amazing. And he's said things before, like Japan and countries like Australia have interests in joining the BRICS. Now, we don't know that to be official. Haven't heard about it, but there will come a point, then again, where sides must be chosen, and this is one of them, a NATO alliance member, a Western-friendly member. And you just saw two naval sailors were just, almost abducted in broad daylight in Turkey yesterday. It's a country that is not maybe as Western-friendly as we would like to think, yet they are part of NATO. And for them to choose sides and openly apply to BRICS while massively accumulating gold, the LBMA and the COMEX in 74 will be rendered the same way Bernie Madoff was, as a scam and as a Ponzi scheme. And the Shanghai Metals Exchange, which has increased over 200% in volume in the past several months, has now surpassed in trading volume the COMEX. So these little by little moments are becoming far more legitimate, and it baffles me how underestimating this is really, how the mainstream underestimates it, how Wall Street underestimates it or completely ignores it. I think this is a massive deal, a huge deal, and all you got to do is not listen to what people are saying, but do what the biggest money in the world is doing, those who know the playbook, and that is accumulating commodities, period. Selling treasuries, selling dollars, getting out of the way of what's coming and buying commodities, which have, as we know, no counterparty risk when held in your own possession.
Andy, in an interview with Dunnigan Kaiser, explains that in 2024, silver will face a 215 million ounce shortfall, the second largest in over 20 years, and the fourth consecutive year of deficit. Notably, military usage isn't included in supply-demand estimates, which suggests the actual shortage could be higher. Despite this, banks are suppressing silver prices. Meanwhile, India's silver imports are set to double this year, with 2,295 tons purchased in February alone, a 260% increase from January's 637 tons. In 1 month, India imported 70 million ounces of silver, more than the U.S. Mint produced in Silver Eagles over 3 years. India's imports could reach 7,000 tons this year, up from 4,554 tons last year, and 560 tons the year before. They've brought in over 700 million ounces recently, more than COMEX and LBMA combined. Meanwhile, China, the world's second-largest silver producer, producing around 3,500 to 4,000 metric tons annually. This makes it the top global producer, significantly outpacing other countries, buys unrefined silver at double Western prices, avoiding transparent markets. These countries are outsmarting the West, accumulating commodities quietly while Western markets suppress prices. Let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, so 2024 will be another deficit, and they imagine 215 million ounce shortfall. Second largest in more than 20 years, fourth year in a row of a structural deficit. Of course, the supply demand numbers do not put in military usage, and that's a big deal for me. When we go back to the congressional hearings, Senate hearings, subcommittee hearings in the 40s that I've talked about, I've shown you, that talk about needing 200 million ounces of silver per year in the 40s. Well, we've talked at length about the need for silver and high-tech weaponry, and those supply-demand numbers that the Silver Institute publishes, right or wrong, will tell you there's a 215 million ounce deficit on the horizon for this year, the fourth year in a row, but they don't mention anything about military. So my guess is those numbers are much, much higher, and this is why you have 8 brain-dead banks holding the price of silver down. All right, now going to India, it was just reported August 23rd that India's silver imports are on course to nearly double this year, and they're going to double to, the country has already bought 2,295 tons compared to only 673. This was in February alone. In February, 1 month, and they published these numbers months after. In 1 month, they bought 2,295 tons of gold in February, and that's up from 637 tons in January. So you're talking a 260% increase month over month. That's massive amount of silver. Putting that in perspective, okay? That amount of silver that they bought in 1 month is 70 million ounces more in silver than the U.S. Mint made in silver eagle coins over the past 3 years combined. So you got India importing more silver in 1 month than the U.S. Mint has made in eagles in 3 years combined. Think about that for a moment. They are estimating that upwards ends of 7,000 tons will be imported this year. And I mean, last year it was 4,554 tons and 560 tons the year before. So 560 jumps up to 4,554, jumps up to 7,000. Their numbers are massive, and they've imported over 700 million ounces in the last few years. That's so much more than is on COMEX and LBMA combined for delivery. It's not even funny. And that's just what they tell us. And as I mentioned to you probably last week in an interview I did with Sean Kunkun from Dolly Varden, he says, look, Andy, China's flying all around Latin America and buying up all the doré and concentrate and shipping it back to China to refine it. How many people know that China is the second largest producer of silver in the world and now buying concentrate and doré at up to twice what the West will pay for it, shipping it home and refining it, so it doesn't have the transparency or affect the price settlement the way that it would coming off of an exchange? You have these countries using the brain-dead Western suppression against us, draining the exchanges, making massive deliveries across the globe, and now even disintermediating the whole system and going right to the miners and buying their doré. So it's a big deal. I mean, I don't know how much bigger of a deal than I can explain it than to say these countries are every bit as sophisticated or more so than the West. And in fact, they know what we're doing, and we've documented that on all sorts of things that they've said, like the head of the Shanghai Exchange in 2015 saying, when China is allowed to speak at the gold table, the real price will be observed, or the BRICS Grain Exchange saying we produce more grain than the West, but we can't control the price. It's done on COMEX. That will change now with the BRICS Grain Exchange. They know what we're doing to the world's commodities. They know we're suppressing them. So instead of raising a fuss about it, they're just draining it and buying it everywhere and anywhere they can, even in unrefined form.
These shifting dynamics highlight a growing global realignment, with countries increasingly seeking to secure their own commodity supplies outside traditional Western markets. As more nations turn to alternative systems and alliances, the implications for global finance and commodity pricing could be profound. How is the current silver shortfall and ongoing structural deficit impacting prices and market dynamics? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you found this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thanks for being a part of our journey.